I think Tom and Meg are towards the end of their schooling and are at the cusp of being able to live like individual, independent lives, and they're kind of a bit imprisoned by their parents in that they are very protective of their kids because of all the experiences that they've had in life, or they're trying to protect their children from the impending death, I guess, of Tom and all that kind of stuff. So I think if there's any divide between the generations, it's just because the parents are trying to help protect them.
And I don't think that's unique to this, that world. I mean, I think it's the rites of passage that every child goes through from adolescence to adulthood. I think you always can see more retrospectively once you're an adult, and you can kind of look back at that particular time of your life and go, what was I going through then, and what have I gone through now, and then what will it be like in another 20 or 30 years? And I think maybe every generation has that, there's a divide between young and old. And of course you never think you're going to be not cool when you're young. You'd be like, I'm always going to be cool when I grow up. And then you think about your parents, and God, my parents are uncool. And then you see yourself slowly morph into the uncool people, which is what's happening with us now, but not Tom and Meg in the show, you know? So perhaps I think that's what it is, the burden or the knowledge, maybe not burden, but the knowledge of life when you're the parent stage of, you know, of Jim and Gwen, their knowledge of life they've been through. They've been through war, they've been through recession, famine, like there's been no money, people on the street, people like dying like dogs, like flies, like the worst of the worst of the worst. And like, we are trying to save you from this, but all that Meg sees is, I want to live my own life. Why are you just on my back all the time? Everything has to be so organized, absolutely crazy. She's like, let me be, let me have a go, let me try a thing. I want to do the thing you did even. So in that case, that's why I say perhaps it's experiential between one party and the other party. They want to like save you from the bad things, but also kind of means you don't get to try them or experience them.
Yeah, I think the anxiety for, I guess, just both Tom and Meg sort of comes from that idea of not being able to experience the good and the bad for themselves. It's about the parents going, we won't let you experience that because we know what that's like and it's awful.
Yeah.
But there is something really important about experiencing the bad as well. Like Tom is being protected in a way where he isn't allowed to grieve or mourn for his own life. So he's actually missing out on something. I think it's a problem when people just want to be happy all the time. There's a duality to life and everything that we feel and experience. And
happy doesn't mean anything if you don't know what sad means either.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. But I think that, he's being robbed of something that will help him grow in life, in the short life that he has left. I mean, they're pretty good looking teenagers. So, I mean, there's obvious sexual attraction between the two. Whether that sort of eventuates or not, it's there. But I think partly for Tom, this charge is sort of really strong because Meg kind of encapsulates and symbolises everything for Tom about life and everything that he won't actually get to experience. So, I mean, sex is just one part of that, but she is the opposite to what's going to happen to him, which is to die. So he kind of looks at her as life, and he's interested in, what are you going to be when you grow up? Because I want to know what's going to happen in your story. I know how my story ends. I want to be part of your story. So Meg is kind of a distraction to Tom for all the horrible things that are happening to him and is going to happen to him. I think, that's how I sort of see Tom's sort of asphyxiation about Meg?
I think he's life. I think Meg's been quite a cotton-wooled girl by Gwen. There's a formula and a method and a right way to do everything, and now she's just on that verge of coming into her own where she gets to go, I don't know if I agree with that actually. I don't think that's how it should be done, and making her own adult decisions. And she sees Tom, and like it's that blossoming of first love and wait, this is what, maybe it's that realization of like, oh wait, families actually start as strangers and then they come together and they create a new cell and they make choices on how they want life to be. That's what that is. And I think, I mean, of the time in the 60s, it was also right on the cusp of a way that it had been, and then things were really heavily changing in Australia as well as all over the world. So there's that kind of double standard as well. Like you just had to wait a little bit longer for all sorts of rights to come in. You know, it had just become free love, and a lot of norms were changing. So, and you know, Jim talks about they just got to wait a little bit longer for things, and then things will be okay. But I think, you know, according to Meg, her views, I think seeing Tom is like there was that sexual awakening as a woman, so she's moving in from adolescence into adulthood, and Tom is not just that experience, but it could be the change from her mother's way or the highway into the way she wants to rule the world. She no longer has to compromise like her dad's done constantly for her mum, and she's like, I'm not going to stand around for peace and quiet just because it's going to be easier.
It's also the unknown
the whole time.
is so exciting to her.
It's adventure as well.
Like rather than the order that Gwen has established for Meg and the plan that she fits into, and going, you will do this and this and this and this.
Yeah, you can go too far one way in order to keep Meg safe or give her everything that they didn't have when they had to, you know, walk the streets for food and live in tips and share everything with others and share houses and all the rest of it. She has everything given to her, but she also has no freedom. She also has no experience. She's kind of a young 17, you know, like she hasn't experienced anything yet. Doesn't scrounge, has had to want for nothing, and in fact has been a proper little mess the entire time. It's just really done. It's like, can't I get a little bit dirty? Can't I get my feet into the soil a little? And I think she sees that with Tom. His family is a world apart from hers, and she's like, oh, I could be a bit like that. We could do this together.
Well, Matt did cast the whole ensemble, not really according to age. He wants a group of actors that slip in and out of different roles. So while we play Meg and Tom, we also play Rick and Leonie as well, who are older characters. But when sort of dealing with playing younger characters that are teenagers, it is very easy to sort of slip into kind of like younger acting, which can come across quite patronising to watch sometimes. So, I mean, really it's just about us just working out what that feeling of love and passion and excitement is for ourselves, and just going through that rather than sort of trying to play cutesy young, have been kissed sort of teens.
So there's no need for an affectation of young. You're just playing a character. They happen to be young in the script, but their feelings and thoughts are as legitimate at whatever age they are as they are. If you say that person is the richest man in the world in a room, the other person next to you will be like, oh wow, just because you've said it, it can be without him going, I'm super rich, look how rich I am. And I think it's the same thing. You don't have to be like, I'm super young. It says they're young, so they are, and you can just be.
Matt's sort of directing it in a way so that Tom is on stage the whole time, and he is sort of conjuring up these other scenes that he's not a part of, and he wants the whole experience to feel like it might be a dream of Tom's, or possibly memory looking back, or just imagining how the other families live. So it is interesting. We're halfway through rehearsal, so we're still trying to figure out what that is, going from an observer watching Meg and her family, and then stepping into his own scenes. But at the moment, it sort of feels like just being another audience member on stage. But it does sort of frame the character of Tom and Rick in a Puck-like sense, because he plays Puck at the beginning of the play, and Puck is this sort of invisible character that lives between heaven and earth. He's this magical thing, and I think Tom feels a bit the same, knowing that he's sort of between life and death, and he lives in this half world. He doesn't live on the same level as everyone else, and I think he kind of experiences the world as an observer in a different way when death is so imminent and so close.